The battlefield is quiet before dawn. Tens of thousands of men stand in formation, shields gleaming in the pale light, spears planted firmly in the earth. They know that within hours, chaos will erupt. Iron will clash with iron, and blood will soak the soil. Yet what makes these men so fearsome is not only their discipline or their weapons. It's what they put into their bodies before battle. Imagine this: a simple, humble food, so common that it might sit in your own kitchen today, once believed to give Roman soldiers strength, stamina, and even near invincibility in combat. What if the power of the Roman Empire, the might that crushed Carthage, marched into Gaul and faced Hannibal's elephants, was fueled by something as unassuming as porridge? Yes, not wine, not exotic meat, but a dish the Romans called puls, a barley and grain porridge that every soldier consumed religiously. Was it just food, or was it Rome's secret weapon?
To understand why puls mattered, we need to step back to the foundations of Rome itself. The earliest Romans were not yet emperors, senators, or generals. They were farmers. Their world revolved around the soil, the grain harvest, and the rituals of agriculture. Livy, one of Rome's greatest historians, described the early Romans as a people of the plow, hard, resilient men forged not in palaces, but in fields. And their diet reflected this simplicity. Barley and emmer wheat were the backbone of Roman subsistence. Unlike the decadent banquets of Rome's later emperors, with roasted peacock, honey-glazed dormice, and seashells filled with fish sauce, the early Roman soldier's diet was plain, earthy, and efficient. The dish known as puls was made by boiling barley or wheat with water, and sometimes adding beans, vegetables, or a drizzle of olive oil if fortune allowed. In lean times, it was just grain and water, a thick paste eaten with fingers. But this humble porridge carried symbolic weight. To eat puls was to declare oneself Roman, disciplined, unpretentious, strong. The ancient sources even contrast Rome's diet with her enemies. The Greeks dined on bread and fine oils. The Persians indulged in sweet fruits and meats. But the Romans, it was said, conquered the world with porridge.
As Rome expanded, puls became more than food. It became ritual. Each new recruit, standing nervously in camp, was taught to cook it. For the Roman military machine, porridge was fuel. It was light to carry, easy to prepare, and most importantly, packed with carbohydrates and fiber to keep soldiers going through grueling marches. Imagine a legionary on campaign. He carries nearly 40 kilograms of equipment: shield, sword, helmet, chainmail, javelins. On top of this, he marches up to 20 miles a day. Meat would spoil on such long campaigns, but sacks of grain? They lasted. Each soldier was issued wheat or barley, which he ground himself on a small hand mill and cooked into puls over a campfire. In battles such as Cannae, where Hannibal's Carthaginian forces nearly destroyed Rome, the resilience of the Roman army wasn't just about courage, it was about endurance. After days of maneuvering, marching, and starvation tactics, Roman soldiers could still rally. Why? Because while their enemies often depended on irregular supplies, the Romans had their steady, portable porridge. And here lies the secret. In the Roman worldview, pulse was not simply fuel, it was discipline, embodied. Soldiers joked that while others ate to live, Romans lived to conquer, powered by a bowl of grain paste.
By the height of the Republic and into the Empire, pulse had become iconic. Roman writers like Cato the Elder even praised it as the food that created the greatest warriors in history. According to tradition, Rome's very founder, Romulus, was fed on simple gruel, setting the tone for generations of soldiers who believed that strength came from restraint, not luxury. Picture this: a Roman legion encamped on the Rhine frontier. Snow dusts their tents, fires flicker, and what are thousands of the most disciplined men in the world doing? They are bent over steaming bowls of pulse, the same meal their ancestors had eaten centuries before. To them, porridge wasn't just dinner, it was heritage, proof that they were part of an unbroken chain of conquerors. Even in victory celebrations, generals reminded their men not to fall into decadence. The contrast was often political. While senators in Rome feasted on delicacies, soldiers in the field ate pulse, a badge of honor. It was humble, but in its simplicity lay its strength. Some accounts even suggest soldiers added garlic, onions, or vinegar to their porridge, flavors believed to sharpen the senses and ward off weakness. The symbolism became almost mystical. A bowl of barley could sustain a man, sharpen his mind, and harden his spirit.
But like all things, Pulse's reign did not last forever. As Rome's empire expanded into wealth, the simplicity of the porridge began to look outdated. Soldiers stationed in the east acquired tastes for lentils, dates, and spices. In Gaul and Britain, meat became more accessible. By the late empire, accounts describe soldiers eating bread as their staple, supplemented by cheese and meat when possible. Pulse had not vanished. It still lingered in poorer camps and in rural households, but its aura of invincibility faded. Some historians see this shift as symbolic of Rome's own transformation. From a rugged, austere republic that prized discipline, Rome evolved into a luxurious empire, consumed by wealth, excess, and politics. The porridge that once built legions of steel could no longer satisfy the appetites of men who had grown accustomed to banquets. And so, quietly, Pulse slipped from the battlefield.
Yet echoes of this ancient food remain all around us. Today's soldiers eat ration packs, nutrient-dense, lightweight, designed for endurance. In many ways, they are the modern heirs of Roman pulse. And if you've ever had oatmeal before a workout, or rice porridge to fuel a long day, you've shared something with the legions who marched under the eagle. In Italian cuisine, a distant cousin of pulse survives: polenta, cornmeal boiled into a porridge-like dish. In parts of the Mediterranean, barley gruels are still eaten as comfort food. Even the idea of simple foods for strength echoes in modern sports nutrition, where athletes rely on carb-heavy meals before competition. But perhaps the greatest legacy lies not in the dish itself, but in what it represented. For Rome, porridge was proof that invincibility didn't come from indulgence, but from endurance. Not from feasting, but from discipline. And so we might ask, Did Rome conquer the world with swords or with spoons?
The next time you sit down to a bowl of oatmeal or porridge, imagine a legionary crouched by a campfire 2,000 years ago, eating almost the same thing. That soldier would soon march into battle, shield raised, sword in hand, believing, truly believing, that this humble bowl of grains made him invincible. Rome was not built in a day. It was built bowl by bowl, march by march, soldier by soldier, each sustained by the same simple meal. So, the question remains, was pulse just food, or was it the fuel of empire? If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden details of Rome's past, don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow history lovers, and subscribe for more stories from the shadows of history. Until next time, remember, the smallest things often leave the biggest mark on history.